Welcome to the College Law panel. We have artists and thinkers on the edge here with me on the panel. On the right is Harto. There is Berger representing Rune Art, and the racks. Bitcoin is a phenomenal device to storing authenticity and provenance. So I'm going to start with a brief origin. How did you get into art space, and what was the pivotal moment exploring digital art, code itself, and form of movement towards Bitcoin?
I'm Harto. I come from Barcelona, and I've been in the blockchain since 2020. And I decided to go digital, and I started in NFTs, and then I discovered Ordinals, and since then I didn't left.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Gordon, and I've been kind of living a double life for a very long time. One is being deeply immersed in blockchain since 2011. Because I started off essentially running a mining operation and then learning more about blockchain. And then my parallel life to that, my whole life, is being an artist. And I've been an artist since I was a kid. So naturally, I kind of started to think, how can these two fields actually merge together? So yeah, I started off with like early experiments on Bitcoin and then some early stuff on Ethereum. And now I'm really happy to be contributing to grow the space of art on Bitcoin.
Welcome back.
Started in street art and eventually got into doing like virtual reality and augmented reality stuff, and was commissioned by an art foundation in Hamburg to do this large-scale AR installation, and that was my introduction into NFTs around 2017.
Fair enough. So the code is law, and Bitcoin has open source readable format, very controllable but limited environment. What remains to be a fascinating factor for you in that code base? Why Bitcoin is the canvas? Why the tool for you that perhaps makes it now the pinnacle of your individual exploration in the artistic space?
And focusing on blockchain art, and I was doing stuff with like Ethereum for a while. And in my personal experience, when you're getting into type of tech, there tends to be the initial like first movers are the ones that are actually there because they're curious and like actually want to build, and not just like talk about building or something. And so for me, it just kind of felt a bit raw and exciting. And also, of course, Bitcoin, close friend of mine said that there's no second best. So
for me, I feel like Bitcoin is essentially this new structure that signifies the beginning of a new digital age. And I think for us as, creators and artists, it's really interesting to think, how can you use this as a medium? How can you use this like essentially time chain as a medium in an artwork, and kind of think about how this is essentially one of the most permanent way to encapsulate your digital artworks currently. Like when you think about it, what better way can you have to store your digital artworks, your digital creations for very long periods of time? Like you can host it on some server, but good luck saying it 5 years from now. So I see it as one of the like fundamental mediums for encapsulating your digital creations. And then also it offers, like every medium, something very specific that no other medium really gives you, like very interesting things with, parent-child provenance, recursion, different ways to use sets, maybe conceptually in artwork. So it's very much potent as a medium to express your ideas. And I think it's, fundamentally one of the main ways to actually keep your digital artworks alive for a long time. I was saying, the first time that I discovered Ordinals, the thing that I get like stuck on it was because of the like provenance and permanence of things, no? Like with Bitcoin, things aren't going to stay there; they are not going to disappear, and this is a big problem because artists sometimes they get censored or art get destroyed, burned, or lost. And inscribing in Bitcoin is putting your art forever in a digital realm, and the more decentralized and secure. So that's why. Right, and each of them has sort of an independent path. So success with challenges. And there is many of us in this room that celebrate Bitcoin, but I would like to also understand what were the roadblocks that you had had in both the releases, the experimentation, the actions upon, and the code base that you leveraged of Bitcoin with all code speed, the script, the JavaScript, the complexity of the code as a form of legal or law-based system, and the challenges, because on the audience, some of you might be inspired, but I would also use this as a space to word and mention where you really struggled. I literally started in the first week of the protocol. So no infrastructure, no wallets. I mean, we only have the Horde wallet, that is the official one, that from the creator Casey and his team. So people were like selling artwork with spreadsheets. So it was like the 90s or something, with the CMD and working in the computer like that. So that was the main struggle. And I think that speed is something that we are missing on tools and more accessibility for artists. Some people are scared to enter to the ecosystem because it's maybe too technical. So I think that they should educate and improve tools for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Harto said. Like, education is one of those main friction points currently that I feel is stopping a lot of creators to really dive deep and actually understand. But I do expect this to actually improve in the coming years. And another thing is, obviously everybody immediately just says like, "Oh, I have this very limited size constraints." So that is one of the main, I think, key learnings, is to actually realize that you don't have to put all of your code on chain. You can actually reference on-chain libraries, which are essentially kind of these like on-chain public goods. And this is amazing, and people who are like putting these things up, that's really contributing to growing that ecosystem. And then also kind of to think about Bitcoin through this lens of almost like a huge palette of things you can collage by utilizing recursion. I think that's a new way of thinking as an artist, because in NFTs classical sense, you would usually like mint everything yourself, but here you can actually reference anything that is currently in Bitcoin, and this is just so, I think, interesting. It's kind of like a huge collaborative artwork that we're all contributing to, and then we can all kind of remix and merge things in different ways. So yeah, Bitcoin as a way to collage things, I think it's also interesting to think about when you think of expressing your work.
For me, like a big part of me being excited about working in this space right now is because of the constraints. And I don't know what I'm doing like the majority of the time. And yeah, like I keep trying to push forward, and it's up to me as a creative to like go into it and try to get the best that I can out of it to be able to kind of get across whatever it is that I'm trying to get across. And so, yeah, all these challenges that just like drives me. That's really just a part of the reason why I'm still here, actually.
That's wonderful. And I would also want you to stay here and keep microphone and explain a bit about PoorTraits.
Cool. Yeah, so the piece that's on now, again, is Abyss, which was the first in the series from PoorTraits. And PoorTraits is like wordplay on portraiture, but then also on traits, which is like a big thing for, assigning value to often the valueless for NFT collections. And like, oh, okay, my PFP has a pipe, and so like there's only two pipes, therefore like there's so much more value on this one. And so like in many ways I'm coming into blockchain art like with heavy critique, but then also like I can't lie, I'm like also seduced by this space. And so with the collection, it's a mix of 3D scans. And so like this one, I 3D scanned Papalangelo and then brought her into this HTML, which then basically applies different like shaders, ASCII emoji shaders and like vertex glitches and wireframe and all this different stuff, which is all reacting to blockchain activity in real time. And so for me, I think it's really important. It's like us as artists, we have this opportunity that no generation of artists prior to us has ever had to be able to explore and create on this new canvas, this new medium. And so in like many ways, it kind of feels like we're like frontiers people. So with this collection, it's a bunch of different like scans and then like different uses of AI, taking like 2D images and then I'm running it through an AI model that will create a 3D bust, and then running that through another model that then does like auto retexture and stuff. And so a lot of what I'm doing there is about identity abstraction and how our identities are constantly fragmented, abstracted, and commodified through technology. Bridging it to Gordon and maybe a different take on artistic mediums or forms of shared ownership.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something I've been thinking a lot about recently, especially in the Bitcoin ecosystem where we have these kind of two main pillars, the non-fungible pillars, aka Ordinals, and the fungible pillar, Runes. And I think there's so much space there to actually think, how can we merge these two worlds? How can we create maybe new formats that kind of are in between what we traditionally think of just, either it's a one-of-one or an edition on blockchain? Because as artists, that's usually the two formats we're kind of offered. So I'm currently actually collaborating with 5 other amazing artists to think what a third format for art on Bitcoin could look like. So imagine if, like you worked on a digital artwork for a year and it's this amazing piece. If you put it in the first category, the one-of-one category, only one collector can at the end of the day, participate in that piece. But if you do additions, you essentially can open up more people to participate in it, but you are kind of creating these copy-pasted images, which sometimes conceptually might not be aligned with your work. So we're thinking, how can we create a news category that allows an artwork to remain a single thing, like a unique thing, but that multiple people can participate in it. So that's where essentially an ordinal, which is a unique artwork, can be connected with a limited set of rune tokens, which we call Ordinals, as almost a way of conceptually decentralizing a one-of-one artwork and creating its own little network effect of participants who can essentially be stewards, on-chain stewards of this piece. So that's something I'm personally very curious about, kind of this new format of, we call it rune artworks that merge ordinals and runes.
I think that my art is like a sort of tree. So I think maybe it's related with coding because I am a generative artist and I every time that I create an algorithm, I get a lot of different paths. And that's what I've been doing since then, like mixing long form generative art that is one algorithm that can generate a lot of different outputs that are generated on chain at the moment of the inscription. But also I've been working on one-on-ones, I've been working on collaborations. But I wanted to stop here in the collaboration part because I think that is the thing that defines more myself. And that's thanks to collaborations I'm here. FloraForms collaboration with the Berger Museum. So I think it's very important to do that because you connect with different audiences. You learn a lot of things because it's a process of sharing and exchanging. This is a collaboration with the ABT Museum. This one, no, it's maybe the only one, but it's not the collaboration. This is Vivid collaboration. So anyway, I think that collaborating and creating connections with other artists, galleries, museums, it's so essential and can bring a lot of eyes to the public and bring new ways of creating. Mm-hmm. Gordon, do you see it saying that you would like to use contemporary spaces and maybe structures that could be associated, connected to the structure of Bitcoin, Bitcoin's code, and the sort of adjacent and sort of exploration in these systems of relationships between the community buildings?
community art, and let's say shared participation in art ownership. Yeah, definitely. I think those are very, very native concepts to Bitcoin as a medium. And then also there's this kind of idea of, I'm currently working on a thesis about deep art, which is essentially art that transcends average human lifespans. And I think this is, for digital art, actually, thanks to Bitcoin, now possible. Like to have art that can, for example, maybe evolve or deterministically have some outputs, like maybe over hundreds of years, because you can put the code on chain and you don't have to, nobody has to like host it. It's like running, and you can have these very interesting explorations of time through art. So I think there's this like new dimension of deep art now that's gonna really be interesting to see how artists utilize it. So, a lot of things in the physical world are ephemeral, which is the beauty of it, and I used to do graffiti when I was younger, so it's kind of part of the process. But I think with Bitcoin now we can think about these very longer term time frames for digital art, which just wasn't the case till recently. Absolutely, Rax. You've been in the building for some time, and I think that you have had built some relationship alongside. So maybe you can provide some shared context and broader invitation to everyone in this room to see the fifth floor of Ordinals there and like how you feel in regards to that.
Having the diversity of creators occupying the entire building is very nice. It's an interesting flow, that's for sure. Going from graffiti to code forest and like very different vibes. One thing that's interesting to me is how people talk about art, like on ordinal spaces and stuff, but like they don't go outside of the ordinal spaces. And it's like, how can you talk about art when you're like just talking about like one PFP? And that's kind of like, um, and so being able to expose people that may, not have that opportunity to really kind of like immerse themselves in these different mediums and these different focuses, I think it is important.
There is a massive gap in how, with your leading edge technological advancements, we can construct the bridge towards the ones that are willing to go out and explore what we can do to make it more relatable for them to approach Bitcoin native digital art. Yeah, but personally, I think that one of the very powerful things that art can give us is actually this way to communicate, you know, through knowledge and language barriers. It's kind of this like borderless way of like expressing ideas. And I think that's very impactful. So I think art can actually be one of the first steps, because it's different if, somebody looks at, I don't know, Harto's artwork and, like if you just show them the piece and then they learn maybe, okay, this is what the artwork does. This is how it was generated. This is how it changes. Or if you tell them like, a recursion, this at that point, that, it's like, if you could just give them a lot of technical terms that are maybe comfortable in, then people are going to feel alienated. But I feel art can really bridge that gap. People can actually start having these light bulb moments on their own through engaging with artworks and experiencing what those artworks kind of, make them feel. And then start thinking like, okay, how's this mechanism behind this artwork? How's the medium that this artwork was made of? Because I feel so drawn to it. I actually feel now inspired to learn a bit more about it. So I actually feel by us creating the best projects we can and the, amazing artworks, like Max just showed us his upcoming collection and stuff. Like I feel projects like that are currently going to actually like go a long way of inspiring and educating other people. How do you have physical pieces there and you have told to the people who arrive? Do you feel we can build on that form and mechanism and improve? And in what way would you see improvements towards those that are willing to approach and are willing to come? Yeah, I think that this like physical artwork is something that it's easier from the outsiders to understand. And then you could say, hey, like the ordinal or the NFT is like a certificate of authenticity. So they understand there is that, okay, because sometimes the problem is the digital artwork. They are like, but where am I going to put it in my house? How am I going to display it? And this arise problems.
I think that this problem is going to disappear one day because we are through a era of digitalization of the screens, of maybe glasses, I don't know, maybe we have other type of technology, and it will be like, okay, we don't need the screen anymore. But yeah, maybe in this transition, like doing some physical artworks could be a good idea to bring more people inside, no? Like,
If you want to add something? Actually, on that note, I was kind of fed up of this like high friction points where every artist they kind of tell to get involved, they actually have to spend like months of researching. So actually, I created a short like video course of like few kind of main topics, telling them. I still didn't announce this, so this is first time I actually shared. So it will be available like for free on my website, just for people to educate themselves about the core concepts of what it means to engage with Bitcoin as an artist or as a collector, and how to think about this medium on a deeper way and what are some of its properties. So yeah, that's one thing which I'm kind of trying to do, contribute to the education on that front. And also currently I'm actually in talks with a lot of museums who are thinking of acquiring some of the pieces that this group of artists that I'm collaborating with for Roland is working on. So see, that's an example where by creating art, other people actually feel drawn to it, and then they actually start learning about it. So, like, we were talking with a museum director who would never care about learning about, rare sets or recursive endpoints if it wasn't for the artwork that utilizes some of these things. And now he's like, but how does it work? I actually want to know. And now I ended up like having multiple calls and explaining actual ins and outs. So I think that's really impactful, like that spark that art can create, and then to have the follow-up educational resources for people to dive in deeper.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the point about the rarity of the medium, the Satoshi itself. I'm not sure if briefly stating that Bitcoin being a transparent ledger and having the authentic form that you can associate data to allows us to do maybe one more question. Are you thinking in your artworks and are you expanding to this path leveraging not only Bitcoin as a canvas, but Satoshi's as a form of an artistic expression, as a paintbrush? And to what degree and where would you like to see it take the direction?
I can quickly add on that. So basically, there's I think two main parts. One is the actual rarity of the set, and another one is the set name, which are not very experimented with much. So those are the two parts I think are really, and the actual date of the set, because every set is a rare set at the end of the day. Right. So,
Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for the artists and comments reaction. That was